Hi everyone, welcome to the Free Range Diva. It's a plant video today because sometimes plants just struggle, and I wanted to share with you what's been going on with some of my plants here this winter that have been having a difficult time, and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and my experiences. So we're going to jump right into this. So I'm going to show you a picture of the Diffenbachia that I had issues with last year and had pretty much resolved them, and this winter I discovered that it had gotten spider mites. This is my first time dealing with a pest issue, and I was prepared. I had everything I needed, you know, just in case there were pests that showed up someplace. And I'll tell you what I think I got it before it got too bad. Whenever I water the plant, I do check leaves, especially on a plant like that because it was so thick and bushy, and I never saw anything. But however, as we transitioned from summer into fall, there were a lot of leaves that were starting to fall off. At first I thought it was natural shedding all of the growth that it had accumulated during the summer. But then I noticed a leaf that was trying to unfurl that actually turned yellow and turned to mush before it could unfurl. And that's when I knew that there was something wrong. I checked the leaves, I checked the petiole, which is the little stem that connects it to the stalk or the cane, and I didn't see anything. And then I noticed on one of the canes a little speck of what looked like just a little speck of dirt, and I went to move it, brush it away with my finger, and it moved. And then I started looking more closely at the canes, and I saw a couple of more black specks moving. And that's when I realized that they were spider mites. And because I didn't see any webbing, and I only saw a few of them, they weren't on the leaves, they were on the canes. And the cane has, it's kind of like a stair-step pattern of foliage that, as it defoliates or whatever, and I guess it was just hiding in some of the, dead foliage that was left behind. So the first thing I did was I took it outside and I hit it with the spray nozzle of the hose and gave it a really good, washing off with that. And then I got some DIY insecticidal soap. And this is the bottle of the soap right here, and I used that to wash it down really well, underside the leaves, on top of the leaves. And this soap is I'll give you it's a liter of water, 1 to 2 tablespoons of alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and then about a teaspoon of mild dish soap. And I used Mrs. Meyer's, but any plant-based dish soap or soap is fine, like Castile soap is fine. And that's what I use to clean the leaves. And I've used that on other plants before to really clean the leaves when I thought there might be a problem. And so I knew that it would get the job done and that it would be gentle. When the alcohol and the soap hit the mites, they die. And so that's why I went with this instead of neem oil. Is very popular. But, and I have some neem here that I can mix. I make a cleaning soap out of this, kind of like a maintenance thing, with the similar, a little neem, a little dish soap, and a lot of water. And that's more of a preventive, but I did not want to use it for these spider mites because I've seen other videos of other YouTubers, plant tubers that have used that and it didn't work. So I skipped over the neem and I went old school and went straight to the isopropyl alcohol. Once that was done, I waited about 5 days, and then I got out the nuclear option, which is this all seasons horticultural spray oil. This is a dormant oil, which means that you can use it indoors or outdoors all seasons, and it's good, safe for organic gardening. So it says you can even spray it and then harvest, a few days after. So this kills everything. Scale, spider mites, it kills eggs and larvae on contact. It does it by smothering the insect so that it cannot, I guess it just kind of asphyxiates it. but it also works on anything crawling around, and like if they've laid eggs anywhere, or if there's anything crawling in the soil, you can spray it directly into the soil and on the leaves. And so I treated it with this, and I waited a week and treated it again. So it's had 2 treatments of this and 1 of the insecticidal soap. After I treated it the second time, I gave it what's known as a hydrogen peroxide drench. This is an old school technique that you use 4-to-1 water to hydrogen peroxide, and then you water the plant with that. And what that does is the hydrogen peroxide kills any eggs or larvae that's in the soil. It also oxygenates the roots. And so it's just another way of making sure that the eggs and larvae are gone. The instructions on this say to wait 2 weeks after you have done a series of treatments on it to see if anything is still alive or if they come back, and then you start over again treating with this. So that's where we are now in that holding pattern. I'll show you what it looks like now that it's been treated. So here's the full plant. This is what it looks like now. As you can see, it's lost a lot of leaves. It still has some yellowing going on right there. And what's most concerning is that down here, this new growth, I'm seeing yellowing leaves. So the leaf die-off has slowed a lot, but as I look around the plant, I don't see any new growth coming in. Let's turn this around a little bit. Oh, here's a new leaf, there's a new leaf right there, so that's something. So, and the reason, if you notice that the leaves are kind of shiny, it's because of the oil that I used on it. But yeah, so this is what it looks like now. As you can see, it's thin. Oh, there's some new growth right there. So that's encouraging. But yeah, it was the canes here where I first saw the mites. Is this more new? Oh, there's new growth back there. There's new growth in the back there. But I never saw any webbing or any mites on the leaves, just on the canes. So maybe I got it before they, were too entrenched. But yeah, here it is now. So as you can see, there's some things that are good signs and some things that could be a problem. It stays in my bathroom. I've quarantined it away from my other plants. It's in my bathroom where it's warm and it has southern exposure through a frosted glass window, so it gets bright but indirect light. It also gets a certain amount of humidity. Not that this is a humidity-loving plant, but it couldn't hurt, right? So it gets a certain amount of humidity from when I shower, but basically it's in there because it's the warmth that it needs. I had it in another room that was getting too cold at night, and so it seemed to be suffering in there. So that's the situation. I'll get back to you and follow up with you and let you know if because the problem with spider mites is that they can infect your other plants. They can wipe out your collection. So, and I don't want to risk that happening. So if I don't see something better on it in 2 weeks, then I may just, as Summer Rain Oak says, usher it out the door and into the compost. But we'll see. I'm hopeful. So next up, I want to talk about some variegation issues, variegated plants. I have my Peperomia obtusifolia here that when I bought this up until the fall was a cream and green variegated plant. As you can see looking at this now, it is lime green, and this happened over the course of a week as the sun moved as the day started getting shorter, the sun moved out of the northern sky, and this was in a northeast window, so it was getting 3 or 4 hours of direct sun a day in the mornings. and the sun moved further into the southern sky, and it was only getting maybe an hour. Over the course of that week that the sun made that transition, this happened. And I've since put it in a southeast window so that it's getting hours of direct sun, and it responded by growing. These are inflorescences. These are its flowers. So it shot out a bunch of these, and the variegation got a little bit better, but the new growth, here's an example of a new growth leaf, is coming in lime green and dark green. So this saddens me because I loved the variegation on this plant, and I kind of don't know, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. Cutting it back might be something to do in the spring, but I don't, you know, I don't know. We'll just wait and see what it does. But yeah, I'm guessing it happened because it wasn't getting enough light. The variegation apparently, at least on this type of peperomia, is not very stable. Now I have another variegated peperomia here that was starting to do the same thing. I noticed some of the newer leaves were getting, as you can see, this is a clusiifolia, and the variegation here again is white and green with a red edge. And I noticed some of the white sections were starting to turn a little bit yellow, a little bit limey. So I stuck this, here's one, I don't know if you can see that, but that's one. So I stuck it in, pulled back from a south-facing window about 5 feet, and after an hour of that type of sun, it burned. So yes, this particular type of peperomia, even though these leaves are kind of succulent, it doesn't want direct sun. So you can see here some of the damage from the burn hit this leaf. And eventually I will cut these leaves off, but for now, you know, they do have some green on them, so I'll leave them on until I start seeing a lot of new growth, and then I'll cut them off. But yeah, there's another one that was damaged. So the poor thing got a little bit damaged. It got too much sun, but now I have it in my bathroom near that southern window that's screened with frosted glass, and it's doing much, much, much better. I'm not seeing any more, like this is a new leaf, and it looks like this new leaf is coming in with the cream. Right now it's kind of pink and red because it's new, but it's going to have that creamy white variegation. So thank goodness. We saved this one. And then we have this Tradescantia. This thing, it was in a north window, and it wasn't getting enough light clearly because this is new growth, and as you can see, it's tiny. All the new, anything new that's like from here on down, the leaves came in really, really small. Some of them, like this little vine, has a lot of space in between the internodes. That's because it wasn't getting enough sun. The variegation has held. In fact, you've got on this side, this is like a completely white vine, but these leaves are really, really tiny. So I moved it. It's now getting southern exposure as well, and I think what I'm going to do is when spring rolls around and I can put this outside, I'm going to cut most of this back so that, because you can see it's kind of thin in the top anyway, I'll put it in a bigger pot, cut most of this back, and then just give it a whole new start again. And hopefully the leaves will come in bigger, that's the size they should be, you know, when it grows. Because these plants, they are very invasive. They're hard to kill. They're sometimes called an inch plant because if you put an inch of it into the dirt, it will root and grow. And I do have not this variety of Tradescantia, but I have another Tradescantia that's been growing in our backyard for years, and no one ever does anything to it. I mean, it just, you know, grows. So I think this will do well. I'll put it outside, probably on the front porch, let it get some western light, and I think it will look a lot better this time next year. But again, you know, the nice thing, here's a vine, so you can see. The nice thing about this plant is that if I cut it, I can cut it all the way back to here, if I want, to here, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right, so I'm going to wrap this video up on a much more positive note because I want to show you two plants that I don't think you've seen before that are doing really, really well this winter. Let's move you out of the way. Okay. This is a Philodendron micans, and this is my fountain of foliage plant. I'll move over. There we go. This is my fountain of foliage, and as you can see, this has got new growth everywhere. There's new leaves coming in all over the place. And what I love about this plant is that, let's see if I can find a good one. It's kind of a green and copper on the front of the leaf, but on the back side of the leaf, it's this burgundy copper color. This is one of the most stunning plants that I personally have ever seen. Here's another one where you can see that color. I thought it would look nice in this little copper bowl, but it has just been growing like mad, like crazy. This sits in a western window, but it gets no direct sun at all. It just gets a medium to bright light during the day, and has not given me any problems. I water it once every week to 10 days, depending on how warm or cool it is, and it's just been growing like a little. And I got this as a tiny little, little 4-inch in a tiny little 4-inch pot in the summer, and it just took off this fall and winter and has been going crazy. Put you right there. And then my final plant that's been doing really well is here in this little makeshift terrarium. So let's get this off. This is a Calathea Dotty. And this was so tiny when I got this 2 months ago. It's in a 2-inch pot right now. It was just literally a rooted cutting in a plug. But it was healthy. And this will get much bigger. It will get, up until probably about an 8-inch size pot, plant. But for now, I don't know if this was grown from a seed or from a tiny little, I think this probably was grown from a seed, looking at the way it's growing now. But it is just beautiful. It's dark green foliage with this pink coloration on the leaves. These plants, I keep it in this terrarium setting because they like humidity, and something this small likes warmth. So it sits here on this pile of rocks, and then I spray the rocks every few days, and that keeps the environment humid, so I don't have to, I probably watered it. I've only watered it once since I've had it, and I've had it about 6 weeks. And so it doesn't require a lot of watering, and then the humidity helps it to grow faster and keeps the leaves from turning brown or anything like that while they're growing. But this has been this is just my little buddy, and I love nurturing these tiny little plants like this to see what they end up growing into. So yeah, this is an experiment for me because Calatheas can be a little bit difficult. They're in the Marantaceae family, which is the same as the Maranta. So in the evenings, although this is a baby and it hasn't started doing this yet, it will close up. It will move its leaves in response to the light. So, as this gets bigger, I'm going to keep it under this terrarium. This is just a vase over a saucer, but I'm going to keep it under glass like this until it gets too big for this terrarium or the spring, whichever comes first. But there it is. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a little something out of it. Plant care is a learning experience. And I am learning a lot, and so I wanted to share that with you. So if you did enjoy the video, then please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you did. Just don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss my next video. And if you have subscribed, thank you very much. And yeah, so until I see you again in my next video, I'm wishing you a wonderful day, a wonderful week. Take good care of yourselves, and I will talk to you again very, very soon. Bye!